So I was trying to think of what number this is for me for 101s. Let's see here. So I bought my first 101 from a guy in Bellingham, Washington, and 2016, I think, late in the year. It was a 101B. I still have it. At one point, I actually traded it. That was after I got shocked working on radios and I swore off all these radios. Anyway, I ended up getting it back. So I got it back, but it was, yeah, probably like, oh, geez, like towards the end of 2016, something like that. Maybe Elizabeth knows. Anyway, I bought the B with a Spectronics digital display. It didn't work quite right, and then it quit working completely. Not quite as nice as the yaesu display. It came with a VFO. It came with 2 speakers. One of them needed some work. It came with, let's see, extra tube. I think one, maybe 2 extra tubes. This book here has printed manual from Fox Tango and some other stuff. I think it came with the actual manual also. I'm trying to think what else it came with. No microphone though, I don't think. And it was $300. So I drove to Mount Vernon, Washington to go get it from the guy. At the time we were living in Everett. And he was in Bellingham, and so we met in Mount Vernon. I think it was like West Valley Highway or something. There might have been an electronics TV place there. I think that's where I met him at. A CB shop or a TV place in Mount Vernon. Anyway, so I had that radio, and then I found another one that didn't work. It was burned up on 11 meters and 10 meters. The tank circuit wire was burned off the tank coil. And I got that from some weird pot smoking dude that didn't even have I don't think he had a general class license. He lived in like West Seattle, kind of in the ghetto a little bit. I paid $100 for that one. It took me a little while to get that one fixed. So I think after that, I got another 101E from my friend Mike. I gave him a bunch of tubes and he gave me the radio. And it also didn't work. I can't remember what was wrong with it. And it was from Alaska. The guy had wrote his name and call sign right down here in the lip. There's I can't remember his full name, but his name was Harley. He's a silent key, obviously. Most of these radios you're going to run across, the original owners are dead. Because you got to remember, most of the guys that bought these were already old in the 70s. I don't know. I think they were like about between $500 and $700 back then, which was a lot of money. It really was a lot of money for a radio. But then look at the cost of radios nowadays, and it's actually interesting that it's, pretty affordable still. Really, when you think about it, you can buy an ft101 for $900. But anyway, let's see. So then after I got that one, I think I got another one. So the first radio that I sold was the one that came from the pot smoking weird dude in West Seattle, and I sold it to N7RUE, and I think he blew it up. And then he parted it out on eBay. But there wasn't anything wrong with it. He just blew it up. I don't know what he did. Or maybe he traded it. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. He ordered some tubes for it or something. I think he blew the tubes out, and then he ordered some tubes. I think maybe he traded it. But anyway, later on, the other one that came from Alaska, that came from Mike, that belonged to the guy named Harley, I sold to this dude down in Coolidge, who then told me he wanted it super bad because it was Elmer, and then 3 days later he sold it. And turns out he sold it to N7RUE, who apparently still has it, I think. And due to lack of better judgment, I also sold N7RUE the VFO that came with the 101B. I then sold the 101B to my friend Jim down in Buckeye, and he had it for a while and used it on AM and flattened the tubes out a little bit. And we traded back, and I got my 101B back. Instead of doing 150 watts, it does about 60 watts. So that's okay. It still works. So then I got this other one here. Nope, actually I didn't get that one there. I bought this one, the 101, no letter, late production, with the matching VFO, the very rare matching silver trim VFO, for $100. I bought this one at a ham fest in Phoenix from a guy that actually lives kind of close by, for $125. And it came with a microphone, extra tubes, and something else. I had to think the manual, which is coincidentally funny because the guy next to him, one table over, had the same thing with no extra stuff for $250. So this one here has given me problems, but I mean it does work. And then this one here, W7WRX, Clark, he found this one at the local Hamfest here. He showed up early, and he bought it from the club. And then he asked me if I wanted it, and I was like, yeah. I actually wasn't even sure if he... Well, I think he told me, I paid $50 for it. Let me know if you want it. And for a second, I thought he was just going to actually give it to me, but I gave him $50 for it. Can't complain. Yeah, and this is probably the cleanest, nicest one that I've run across. It doesn't have the plastic on it anymore, but one of the ones that I got had the plastic on it, which was that one from the pot smoking weird dude in West Seattle. And that one was actually really super clean. But this one here, it's only got a couple of spots where it's like worn. It's really clean. You even look at the screws. Now, I think this radio was modified in the 70s. And it never worked again. And the guy put it in the closet. So inside the radio, in the, what they call the high frequency mixer or whatever, the first mixer, there's a modified like preamp or something, and the wire had come off, so it wasn't operational. The radio didn't work. I think it transmitted, but it didn't receive. So I think that's why it's so clean, because they installed that modification, and they just did like this worst soldering job I've ever seen. And so I think that's why it's so clean. It's not been used. Need a little bit of stuff here and there, but pretty clean. This one here is actually fairly clean too. Need some scratches. You see the bezel is scratched. The corners are, they get dented a lot. The handles, the stuff rips up on them. As you can see here, this one's kind of a greenish blue color. And this one here, it's not showing up in the camera, but it's actually more like a Collins color. Let me move them together. It's got a hint of brown. And maybe you can see it a little better now. So, funny story about this radio is I thought this was spray painted. And so, a guy gave me a better deal on it. And I think I was going to pay him $150. I got it for $100 or something. I'm not really actually sure how much it was. It was either $100 or $150. This one works really, really good. Really good. But it probably doesn't have as good of a receiver. The tubes are pretty strong, I think. Let's see. So it doesn't have 160 meters. So these ones have, if you do some special modifications, you can add 160 meters to the auxiliary. I don't get on 160 meters, so actually it doesn't matter. It'd be nice if it had it, you know, but whatever. And this one here has all of the positions, including the 11. There is no auxiliary, which is interesting. And the serial number on this one is actually, I think, newer than this one. And this one, for some reason, doesn't have 11. But they put it in there in the auxiliary. It doesn't transmit on 11 meters either. So this radio here is a true survivor. It's never tracked, or it's never transmitted on 11 meters, which is really hard on these radios. Really hard on them, because they're optimized for 10. And so everything is tuned for 10. And 10 covers a pretty wide segment. So you're off by at least 1 megahertz. And it causes them to burn up in some cases. That's why you see the burnt up tank coil circuits. So if you were to really want to use one of these for 11 meters exclusively, you would need to adjust the entire thing for 11. And then 10 would be hard on the radio instead. And you wouldn't use it on 10. It's just the way that it's set up. It's really not broadbanded enough to cover both of them without having low output on one or the other and being out of resonance. So I think that that's why so many of these radios are damaged. This radio here has, in the 10 meter position, a crystal that would be 40 channels above CB. So that's really strange. And then, maybe that was, no, I'm sorry, that was in the 11 meter position. So in the 11 meter spot on this radio was 40 channels above. It really threw me off when I first got it. I'm like, this isn't 11 meters. And then I started to hear some free band people one day, and I realized where it was at. So, and then I think it's missing the 10A. So it's got the wrong 11 meter crystal, and the 10A is wrong. Or was nothing in there. I don't know. So this one does transmit on 11. This one transmits on 11. The 101B transmits on 11. This is the only one, I think, that I've ever had, except for the one from the pot smoker, that hasn't been unlocked. I just know that it's some kind of wire down in the band switch. I think a brown wire, and you just cut it. It's got something to do with a diode that blocks something. It's actually hard to find the information on it because nobody ever bothers to look it up anymore because all of them have been modified. Anyway, so I don't know how many 101s that is, but I've had a few, and I've had a lot of other tube hybrid radios. So really, these are my favorite kind of radios. And these are what I prefer to use. So just something different about them. Maybe it was because when I was a kid, a guy that lived not too far away, his dad was a ham operator or truck driver, and he had like a Kenwood twins, Yaesu twins. I think he had Kenwood twins and Yaesu twins. And I think he had the FL series on these. And what else did he have? Yeah, I think he had the. I think he had the Kenwood twins and the Yaesu twins. As he was explaining, I remember the kid was explaining to me to how the Dow key worked, like how one would switch over, you know, and all that. I remember being fascinated by that. And he had a cubicle quad in his backyard. I don't know what band it was for. I think maybe 20 meters. And I remember he had a whole bunch of old Hewlett Packard cars. He had a big, huge shop in the back. It's crazy how growing up, how like everybody had land, property, garages, shops, and like junk cars, and but you know, it was different back then, and we were all free. We were free. We did what we wanted to do. You know, we didn't carry around cell phones and crap like that. We had CB walkie-talkies that we used to take down to the river to go fishing. We had dirt bikes. You know, we would ride our dirt bike on the side of the road or in the middle of the road when nobody was looking, you know. And we didn't have to worry about the cops. We lived out in the country. I mean, you could ride up and down the road on a dirt bike all the time. And you'd have to be really unlucky to get caught. So, but, you know, I mean, it's possible. But things are just so much different. It's just like, I just wish we could go back to that. And the 80s and how ham radio and CB radio was back then, and, you know, how much more active it was, and some, like, better mannered and stuff, too, you know. But anyway, it is what it is. So those are my 101s that I've owned. So basically, I think I still have more of them than I've sold. I had the one that I sold from West Seattle. I had the one that came from Alaska that I sold. And that's it. I sold those two. So let me see. So right now, I have 4. So I've only owned 6. It's actually not that many. So 6.